Hello, I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girl.
Hello and welcome to the Baller BBL podcast. I'm your host and coach of the Terrace crew, Matt Ricks. We are recording just a couple of days out from BBL 15, I'm going to say it is. Anyway, Baller BBL 24, 25, 26. And I cannot wait for you to start. We got all kicks off with Perth versus Sydney on Sunday night from Optus Stadium. I am joined once again for our last preseason pod by the one and only Coach the Myth on the Myth. How are you, mate?
I'm doing great, mate. Only a few days away now, and it feels like we don't have anywhere near as much information as we typically do.
No, there's nothing really floating around. There hasn't been any press conferences or, haven't heard any of that general groundswell of Aaron Hardy's definitely getting his 3 overs this year like he did last year and then never get any. So, yeah, I'm hungry for that info, but it just hasn't dropped yet.
Yeah, and where are the practice matches to just trap me into going for someone else that's just hit 60 off 20 on a postage stamp?
Where are the practice matches? Are they just not doing them this year?
I have no idea. Surely they're doing them.
That was actually the good preseason content because you could really overread those situations as well. That was like a, Mackenzie Harvey, Mac Wright. That's where those boys used to shine in years gone by.
Yeah, Mackenzie Harvey's hit 40 off 15 is now an all-rounder. Or sorry, who's it? Hamish Mackenzie, the spinner. That's the one.
Correct. Dougie Warren, Melbourne Stars legend as well. Anyway, Myth, so I'm keen for more news. That's what I'm missing this week. But yeah, keen to get into the last of the sort of strategic stuff tonight with you. Chatting pre-pod, there's plenty to chew on. So I'm really looking forward to it. We're going to get through captains. Huge decisions for the first game. Who you're going to put the VC on? We're going to go through our last-minute conundrums. What's keeping us up? I'm not going to say keeping us up at night because it's just a BBL fantasy game. But what's keeping our heads ticking over during the day? And then we're going to have our baller move segment as well for whatever our bold predictions for Big Bash 25-26. Make sure you are following us on all our social channels at Baller and at Baller BBL. Baller Sports on YouTube and TikTok, of course. We have the 3K League, Myth. Now, as of this record, there's still under 200 people in there. What is everyone doing?
They're missing out because those odds are starting to look all right, hey?
Yeah, very good. And there was a bit of backlash, like we mentioned the other day. Jono's keen. He wants the payout. Tubes is keen. CMAC. 2K to the winner, 500 to second and third. You'll see a little bit of that on socials over the weekend, I'm sure. But tell your mates to jump in, sign up to Baller. It's obviously completely free. We can't wait to give that money away. And then you also get the added bonus of getting to join us in the Discord, where the content's really starting to pump out there now, mate. We're running some cash leagues and some really good questions coming through the team advice channel.
Yeah, that's just going to pick up over the next few days as well. And I'm sure it's going to be absolutely booming by the time that first ball is bowled.
Yeah, it's been a long preseason, but also I feel like some people's preseason is probably just starting today. So want to make sure everyone's getting in there and asking plenty of questions. We are launching Baller projections, which will be coming this hopefully tomorrow, Friday, but which was today for when most people are listening. So make sure you get along and head and check out. If not, we're going to have them Saturday, and then they're really going to come to life once the team lists are in, because then we know who's playing. We're going to have some really accurate projections. I was working with the Boffins at Baller Towers today, just finalising what they're going to look like, so I am pumped for that. We got a new match centre, Myth, which I'm just going to share quickly for those on YouTube, but so it looks like we're getting like a much slicker experience now on for the Baller, to follow along live.
And this was something special in the NRL season, watching this update before the SuperCoach app itself, before Fox Sports. Oh, it was just unreal.
Yeah.
It's looking very clean there.
So if you want to get even if it's just the live scores for the match, but we're going to have live scores from SuperCoach Direct, much quicker, obviously, than the app itself. Yeah, I don't want to say for sure, but I'm proof there's a small chance we're getting live projections, but I'll keep that under the hat for now. Don't want to give the game away too early, but yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be a slick little experience, and yeah, pumped for the season to start. All right, Myth, let's get into it now. Oh, I should mention the league closes at the start of the last game in round 2. So the end of round 2 it locks out. The league will lock it. It will get locked out. And so if you have a boom in round 1 as well, just get in there. If you're listening to this pod, just get into the league now, and you won't have to worry about when it closes.
Absolute no-brainer. Get in there.
No-brainer. Myth, the baller blueprint. So tonight, baller blueprint is all about captains. Now, just for the uninitiated, just give us a bit of an overview of which teams we're going to be looking at for vice captain and captain in round 1 double game week.
Pretty simple, and we'll go through it throughout the season, and it's always hit those double game week players. Not even worth considering a single game week player if you don't have to. With Hobart and Sixers both on the double, we're going to be vice captaining a Sixer, and we're going to be captaining a Hurricane if that Sixer does not score as much as we'd want them to.
Yeah, it's so vital. We spoke about it ad nauseum this preseason, how important it is to nail your captains. You can't get up high in the ranks without it. You can't win your head-to-head leagues without it. And yeah, I'm going to, let's just run through now for the first game, Perth, Sydney Sixers. So Sydney play Perth, as I mentioned, in game 1, and then their second game, Myth, is Adelaide, which will be at the SCG on Wednesday. Where are you heading to kick us off for vice captain at Sydney Sixers?
I'm tossing up at the moment between Benny Dwarshuis and Jack Edwards. I like that they've got both ways of scoring. Benny Dwarshuis with the pinch hitting and Jack Edwards, your more traditional all-rounder.
Yep.
I think Dwarshuis is just going to have such good overs. And whilst you typically want your bowler bowling first, I don't actually mind it if they're batting first, because I think Dwarshuis has a better chance of coming in at that 17th, 18th over if they lose a wicket around there to just try and whack that total up. I think that's where I'm looking at the moment. But I like these two teams as captains because I don't think there's a real standout compared to, say, the Strikers with a match short, for example.
Just sharing the view on the vice captains here. Now, this just shows kind of there's just not that much knowledge about how to use the vice captaincy, and these will change. But Mitch Owen is currently the highest VC for some reason. We have to go all the way down to Benny Dwarshuis at 5, and he's only VC'd by 4.8% of the game. I doubt we'll see that come Sunday night, Myth.
Yeah, I'd expect that to go up. I think he'll be the most popular option.
Yeah. Who else? I think you've mentioned the obvious. I love Dwarshuis as well, just for that double. Like, one, he's just got the huge potential for that strike rate bonus if we do see him get that run, sort of coming in around that 15, 16 over mark. But yeah, chance of wickets, bowling role looks good. You mentioned Jack Edwards. How are you feeling about Jack Edwards' role? Like, where do you see him currently slotting in? There's been a little bit of chat in the media about Dan Hughes potentially batting 3, which means Edwards probably drops to 6. I'm just never convinced by Edwards' ability to get the 4 overs in, but I think you're pretty keen on his prospects with the ball.
I think particularly on the Perth deck, if they do run the 2 spinners, then he's a very good chance of getting those 4 overs, because Enrique's quite often, if spin isn't working, he has no hesitation in just bowling them 1 or 2 overs. And I think particularly if Abbott is unavailable, then he's competing with, I guess, lesser quality bowlers for those overs. There'll be, I think, Hayden Kerr, if he's there, is no guarantee to get his allotment. Kane Richardson, if he's there, I don't think it's any guarantee to get his allotment. If it's Mitch Perry, no guarantee to get his allotment. You've only really got Ben Dwarshuis as one I'd be very, very confident bowls all 4. So I think Jackie could end up with 3 to 4 overs there. Captain New South Wales, I think he has done in the Shield. Scored some runs with the bat the other day, I believe. I think he had 90 odd. So hoping maybe this is a breakout season for him.
Yeah, he's obviously very well thought of at Cricket New South Wales. He's really been someone they've looked to develop. He's captaining the other formats now. So yeah, I think you're right, but there's just something nagging at me in the back of my up in my craw just about putting the VC on Jack Edwards, mate. The opening batters are probably the only other places that we're probably looking for the Sixers, because I think Hayden Kerr is probably a stretch if he even plays. So Babar Azam, if you want to go that pod route, or Philippi, they're probably viable as well.
Yeah, I think especially with the VC, you can afford to take a little bit of a punt. And Philippi's done it before. I remember him only a few years ago was a very popular captain or vice captain early, and I think he had 130 in the first game or something like that. So he's got history of doing it.
Yeah, and we can see here he's super popularly owned, 49%. So I think that VC will probably be up, I would say, somewhere around the sort of more 15% come Sunday.
Yeah, I think especially amongst people that are
Mm.
listening in, our serious super
Yeah.
coaches, we'll
Yeah.
see Philippi fairly high as that high upside play.
So just to round the VC conversation out, listener, definitely want to have a Sydney Sixer, and I think you can take your pick of a preference there, just sort of to your risk appetite. Um, I think that's a really good point though, Myth. Just for vice captain, that's where you can really take a flyer on a gun opening bat, isn't it? Rather than
Yeah.
C.
Yeah, it's really risky seeing that opening bat because just a couple good rocks and that's it. You're captaining a low one. Your bowlers, you've just got far more opportunity, or better if they do it with both bat and ball.
On to the Hobart Hurricanes now. So this is where we're all going to be going for captaincy. After we go through these options, Myth, I just want to talk about what if your vice captain does go off. But let's just go through the. Oh no, actually, let's start there because let's just start with what to do if you've got a Philippi comes out in the first game, gets a score, or Benny Dwarshuis as well. What's your loop number? So we know that looping means that you're bringing in a non-player to captain so that you get that double score. That's obviously only half the game week, half the round when they've got their first game out of the way. So what kind of score are you looking for from your vice captain to make that a loopable option?
I think for me, it's anywhere between as low as 50 up to about as high as 70, depending on the captaincy options to come. I personally am not filled with confidence by any particular Hurricane. Like, there's no one that really bats and bowls that we can expect on a regular basis. So I might be looking a little bit lower, but then you got to weigh up, is the loop costing you points from another angle? I think it's pretty complicated, but for a number perspective, probably anything above 50, I'm starting to think about.
Yeah, those guys are going to be projected to be scoring about 50, so that's about par. Yeah, it's. I think runs. It's obviously an old cricket term, but runs on the board in cricket, and it applies exactly the same to Supercoach. You never really know what's going to happen, and you kind of just got to have that number in your head for a strategy to then go, okay, trust the process. You probably still, maybe a 40% or slightly more chance of it not working out, but you've got to play the numbers and run the process.
Yeah, especially early, almost having that loop number in your head before the game, so you can kind of take that decision making away once the pressure starts cooking. Because when it's 10 minutes before the Hurricanes start, you'll be starting to go, oh, do I take it? Do I not? You want to have that decision almost locked in. When we get later in the season, your rank might come into that as another factor, but a good round number to start off with is always good.
Yeah, it's very easy to get that FOMO, isn't it? You're like, oh, nah, stuff it. I'm just going to stick the C on. But we got to try and have a little bit of discipline. There's also a little. It's only a 1%er, but for round one as well, I think given we just don't know a lot about the shape of these teams and how they're looking with roles and whatnot, I think that just comes into a little bit when assessing if Dwarshuis gets a 50 or 60, but you're not happy with, he's batted at 9 or whatever, and maybe his over's looking. I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, but it just doesn't quite look what it's meant to. Then that's going to come into a little bit of consideration as well.
Yeah, absolutely. If the information that we get changes your view on them, then factor that in. Could be positive. Maybe maybe only scores 48 or so, but he bowls one up front, two at the death, and one in the surge, and he got elevated to come in at 5 above Silk or something in the last couple overs, and you go, okay, that's premium, so I'm going to back him to outscore the Hurricanes blokes. But the Hurricanes guys, I find hard.
Very hard. We're going to have a look at them now, and that's going to be probably one of the most asked questions in the Discord this year is, do I take the loop? So we will endeavour to answer every one of those throughout the season. So yeah, get in there and let us know if you need some loop advice or even how you do it. I suppose Myth as well. Like I was going to say, trying to get to this Hobart team, but I just keep thinking about these captaincy conundrums. When you're actually the practicality of looping, you've got to get a non-player on. So if Dwarshuis goes bananas game 1, gets 100, what's the practical mess? Like, what's the practical component that you need to be considering there of who you need to get on field?
Yeah. So obviously, in the side that you've got in front of us at the moment, you've got Will Salzman there. So it's a
Yeah.
little bit easier putting Will Salzman on field, taking one of your single game week players off. In this case, you've got Bartlett there, and just captaining Salzman. You'll then get Beardman's score, and you'll get Dwarsh's score double there. So this is where it becomes tricky if Beardman scores 15, but Dwarsh
Correct.
scores 95.
Yeah, and that's probably a reasonable argument to make sure that you have your VC away from a player in that Perth. If you're only going one Perth, have your VC in the opposite, is it not? Or no,
Yeah.
actually, because then you've got to, because then you might have to do a double loop.
Setting it up in a way that you can be flexible. If you use all your emergencies in that first game, or you put yourself in a position where you have to take one of those scores, it can make the loop calculation really difficult. Or maybe it'd even make it even easier that it's a 45 from Dorcius, but you've got a big score. Actually, no, I'm getting in my head about that one.
Would you consider this? Would you consider Dwarcius in the flex for VC so that then you don't have to take. Oh no, you do. You'll get flexibility if you have two Perth, because then you want to captain Saltzman on field, and you can put it in the bat or bowl, whichever Perth player has scored higher.
Yeah, that's if you've got the two Perth emergencies, you're going to move Salzman to whichever line the highest scores in. But in your setup at the moment, you've got the one Perth in. So if Beardman goes well, Salzman stays in the bowling line. If Beardman doesn't go well, but Dwarcius does, you might move him and swap him with Owen, and that way you can just pick who your emergency is going to be.
Yes, so, but do you like that strategy of Dwarcius in the flex? It probably does cost you a little bit of flexibility later in the round, but for this specific sort of case where we've got Perth playing in the first game, is that something you'll consider?
I don't think we'll need to consider that. I think if you've still got Dwarcius in the bowlers, it shouldn't affect too much, as long as you've got a spot there for Beardman to replace the score. Again, it gets complicated there, but
So
I think it gets messy, but having someone in the flex that plays later and that's dual, I think is the better way to go, just to keep that flexibility throughout the round.
Yeah, okay. So probably a single game week player for this game week, potentially?
Yeah, potentially. Or maybe it's your Hurricane. Maybe it's a Mitch Owen sitting there, or it's a Ray and Armand sitting there. Okay. That gives you that maximum flexibility. But it's one of those things where you got to almost have that visual of how each team's set up and work through your different scenarios.
It's hurting my head just talking about it on the pod here now, mate. So this is another one for Discord. This is where everyone, before the game, after the game, everyone will just be in Discord just figuring out what to do with their side. And it'll be a very, very useful resource. All right, let's finally get to the Hobart boys now. And we can see here Mitch Owen, highest owned player in the game, 56.6%. He's also the most popular captain, most popular VC. He was the MVP of last season with him, and that was all capped off by that memorable ton in the grand final. Mate, he's had an injury, he's had a setback. Hobart are flush with bowling options. I would be not shocked, but mildly surprised to see him have a trundle, especially coming off a hamstring. Is he dynamic enough as an opening batter? I'm going to say the answer is yes, but I think he's fadeable as a captain is probably where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Sometimes I think in Big Bash you got to strip away the name of the player and just look at the role. He's an opening bat that likely isn't going to do anything else. Granted, his bucket's in the field and he is in the hot spots, but he's still an opening bat. He gets two good rocks early, or maybe he starts well but gets out for 19 off 6, doesn't quite reach that strike rate bonus, and it feels like a role to take on. I'm not sure about not owning him to that extent, but maybe not captaining him. If there was someone in this team that I was confident was going to bat and bowl, I would feel much more comfortable taking him on. But I think the only one there is Rayan Ahmed, and an international all-rounder that hasn't been down here before, who has his own injury concerns, doesn't fill me with confidence.
Yeah, and we think he's landed back in Australia today, Thursday, at time of recording. So it's still not clear, though, how he's recovered from the injury. There's been no press about it. So if he even shows up on the first, the first game of the season on Tuesday night, what Owen definitely has in his favour is they're playing the Thunder, who their bowling certainly doesn't look the best on paper this season. I mean, we seem to say that often, but they made the final last year, and they're playing at what's Ninja
Ninja
Stadium.
Stadium.
Yeah, so we know that's a flat deck with small boundaries, and Owen tore it to shreds last year. So, yeah, I'm really struggling, like you said. Like, there's no one clear. Who are the other sort of next best options in your mind from Hobart, mate?
I think it's Nathan Ellis for me. It's the bowling role. He's going to get the best overs. You know it's going to happen each game. Um, he can hold a stick if it gets down to him. You don't want to be relying on that. It's only going to happen maybe once or twice throughout the whole season.
Yep.
But it's just those overs with the reliability, the quality of the player, and bowlers are just a lot safer. He's got a chance of getting those junk wickets that Mitch Owen doesn't have. He's going to have to earn it. Whereas Ellis, like we talked about how good Owen's season was, and Ellis is priced 40K less than him.
Would you want Ellis to be bowling first to be captaining him?
I would much prefer it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Tim David, mate, he's like there's the Hobart batting lineup is so up in the air with Benny McDermott, Matty Wade, Mac Wright, Bo Webster's currently with the Hobart team. We don't know what his availability is going to be for week 1. But it seems like the drums are beating that Tim David's going to be batting 4, and that's incredible for his super coach output, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, Mitch Owen's going to probably be a pure bat. You could just take him on with a different pure bat. Bat's a little bit further down the order, but the only way you see Tim David not having a decent amount of balls faced is if both those openers just tee off and don't get out for ages. If they're 1-4 at the 13th over, Tim David's coming in next.
Would you suggest, mate, that you're a little bit cold on David, like just on a relative basis as someone to take on, or is that just purely down to let's see where he's going to bat? Like you'd take him on at 5, but maybe not at 4.
Yeah, I think that's a factor. I think there's been a lot of hype around his form recently and how good he's been, and he's too hard to fade. He's still a bat only. His last 2 innings in the ILTs failed to reach 20. So we've just had a very, very stark reminder of what can happen for these bat-only guys. They can be in a hot run of form, and then all of a sudden, the runs stop coming. I think one was a single digits and one was the dreaded 19. So that's what I guess I'm talking about with the Hurricanes. There's no real clear guy that's doing both.
No, this is very unlike the Stars where it's just auto C on Maxwell, or for Perth where we might be seeing Aaron Hardy with that all round role. Mate, any pod captains for you especially from Hobart, and feel free to chuck in any pod VCs from the Sixers too.
I guess the one huge pod VC could be Riley Meredith.
Pod
just
C.
Complete pod C. Wouldn't do it myself, but I think he's bowling the lineups he's going. He's got the Stars and he's got the Thunder. Constas seems like he could be in and out either quickly. You got Bancroft, who's not best at the start of his innings at times and has a few single-digit scores in him. And then you've got the Stars, who usually at the top, they might have Sam Harper, Tom Rogers. They're often one down early. So maybe there's some top orders that Riley Meredith could skittle through there. And he killed it over in the in England.
In the Blast,
So
he took 28 wickets over there this season in their T20 competition.
Yeah, and he's the kind of guy that could take a 4 for a 5 for out of nowhere. So I'm not even sure if I'll own the guy, but I still wouldn't take him over Ellis. Not round one.
And I was actually surprised to see he's favourite for most wickets for Hobart for the season. He's actually the favourite for the tournament most wickets at a few betting outlets. So yeah, it's he's certainly got it in him, and he's a quality bowler. It's but it's just more the role. Like, are we gonna see him getting enough of those key overs? It's certainly he's a wickets up front man traditionally, and he can skittle through. So yeah, I don't mind that shout at all, and I'll get to a bit more Hobart pod chat as well in a little bit. I think you're pretty spot on. I think I'm gonna play it pretty safe with my with my VC and C this week. I don't know. I'm kind of with you, Owen or Ellis. David at 4 potentially. I think ownership will come a little bit into it, whether I want to be really defensive on my captain or think there's a spot to take on the ownership. So that's really going to be a last minute call though, once you can sort of see those ownership numbers flowing through. And VC, I think I'll be going Dwarcius, but certainly be taking a look at those opening guys as well. It's a little bit to think through between now and Sunday night. All right, let's get now onto, mate, our last minute conundrums. So what's keeping your brain ticking over with your initial team build, mate, and where are the hotspots in Myth Donda?
Yeah, there's a couple, but the one that I just keep tossing between is which Perth. I've kind of settled on I want 2 of these guys. I think they're really good value, and that allows me to have cash elsewhere. I think stashing them before round 4 allows flexibility when that comes. The good looping schedule. I just don't know which 2. I don't think I can run 3, and there's 3 I want. I want Finn Allen, I want Aaron Hardy, and I want Marley Beardman, and whoever I don't take changes the structure of my side and the flow-on effects of that moving forward. And I can't pick between them.
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. I'm tossing up 1 or 2 Perth. I feel like even though like they are such great value, these Perth guys, you are giving up you're sort of banking that extra Perth player for round 4, their round 4 double. But what's really tipping it over the line for those guys is just that first game with getting the emergencies on them, getting the information so that you can make decisions for your original team setup. And there's so much value in that. Mate, I want to throw one more Perth name at you as well, who's also incredible value, and it's Mitch Marsh. He's retired from red ball cricket. I don't know if or why that matters for the Big Bash this season, but he's not going to be, I would be, again, very surprised but not shocked if he was to get a test call up somehow. There was a few little murmurs of that, but that would be quite out there. But they might, if they've got the series wrapped up, they might give him a farewell test. Who knows? But yeah, he's 117k, incredibly well priced. I think he's in for a very, very big bash this season.
Yeah, he's great value as well, and couldn't talk anyone out of taking the Bison. He's too good for this competition. We've seen it before, and you can do it against anyone.
He's 35% owned though. I didn't realize that. It's obviously a huge name. That's going to be a tricky take on as well if he gets going. But yeah, that's just an interesting like concept as well, Myth. Like I'm sort of come from a general background of I like to take ownership on, like as a general premise. If it's obviously not a blanket rule because highly owned players are generally highly owned for a good reason. But how do you approach those highly owned players from I want to fade the ownership and really try and get some variance on my side versus no, I'm just going to go with the crowd. I'm not going to take on that ownership.
I think for me, it's do they bat and bowl? If they bat and bowl, I've learnt my lesson. Don't take it on no matter what, because the game can just fall for them. And then they're just scoring 160 or 170, and it just sets you really, really far back. Mitch Marsh can score 160, 170 without a doubt. And if he comes out and scores a century in the first game, and I'm stuck here with an egg on my face, it's a possibility. But he has to do something really astronomical to be able to hurt me. Whereas I guess those guys at bat and bowl can get those cheap scores.
Is there any chat at all that he might have a trundle? Like it seems like that is not, but I mean, it's not that long ago that he was bowling.
No, but would he bowl over Hardy? Because
I got no idea. Voges I don't think Voges knows half the time. His coaching record is not the best. So yeah.
But yeah, if you don't have him and he comes out and bowls in the first 6 or 7 overs, then you'll be absolutely crapping yourself, because that's not a sight that I'd want to see as a non-owner.
Yeah, I think that's where it ends with Perth. Those 4 guys though that we've spoken about: Hardy, Marsh, Allen, and Beardman, mate. Agar, Richardson, they're both sort of at that 140K mark. And then Cooper Connolly, 188K. I cannot believe he's 33% owned. They're sort of going to be round 4 targets, aren't they, for that Perth double?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the big reason I'm looking at them is because their value, and I struggle to see value from the other teams that are on the double at that price. Like you might have Ben McDermott, you might have Michael Nisa if he is available. Outside of that, maybe a Joe Clark, but even him, I wouldn't put in the same category as some of these other guys.
Yep. Mate, the other conundrum that I'm facing at the moment is Glenn Maxwell. Now, we had a good chat about stars and some of the value of stars. I'm eyeing off Joe Clark at wicketkeeper, given that he's got the double in 3, then the buy in 4. I think then the double in 5 as well. Yep, that's right.
Yep.
So 3 really good, useful rounds for Joe Clark. The problem with these stars guys, and I think, Maxwell, I would actually really like to fade round 1 because he's high ownership and no double game week until 3. But I'm really struggling to figure out where I'm going to get the cash to bring in a Maxwell, to bring in a Stoinis, and to bring in a Harris Ralph. And Tom Curran's obviously floating around there as well. Yeah, how are you playing the Melbourne Stars there? Are you looking to potentially start with Maxwell?
At the moment, I'm not. And it's just simply come down to I've had a look at it and to maximize the doubles early and to get the players I want on those early doubles. I just can't afford him.
Yep.
He's just too expensive.
So the plan will be to hopefully that he doesn't go off rounds 1 and 2, even to a point where maybe he doesn't lose that much cash, but then just sort of move heaven and earth to get him in for round 3.
Yeah. And that's basically going to be it. I think carrying a lot of Canes kind of mitigates as well. If I've got 6 Canes and Joe Clark at the moment in my side, that's 7 for that double already.
Yes.
Are there going to be some better options? But if I have to go Maxwell, Stoinis and have to just find a cheapie somewhere else just because of that's a situation where I have to boost, then I'll have to deal with that at the time. But it'll be fingers crossed and hope maybe the gap between someone like Maxwell and a Friddy, or maybe Dwarshuis earns 10K round 1 and Maxwell drops and that helps me get a little bit closer. It's just hoping that those price changes fall in my favour. If they don't, that's where it's going to be hard to get Maxwell.
Yeah. Would you consider a boost? Are you planning a boost for that round potentially?
I'm gonna not plan any boosts at all and kind of use them to get out of sticky situations if they arise.
That's
my current plan. Yeah, like that could be.
Yeah. So at this stage, are you planning to sell no Hurricanes after round 1 or just a bit of a wait and see?
Yeah, I'm the who to sell round in round 2 is tricky because I like a lot of the 6s. But I think 2 of them will definitely go, and it's that third trade that'll be up in the air. Could be a Kane, could be someone else. I think that's what you mentioned earlier is round 1 will have only 5, 6, 7 players lock out after that first game, and that information that we get is going to then filter out our starting squads a little bit more too.
Yeah, I think it is viable to potentially sell 1 or 2 Hurricanes, but like you said, I think you just want to see that information. Because you can't. Otherwise you're just going to be potentially overexposed with doublers in round 3. Then all those guys, you'll be keeping the Stars because they've got a buy, but then you've got you're a bit overexposed then on Hurricanes where they don't double again until after their next buy, and you actually have to shift a load out to be able to cover that round 6 buy. So. That's very tricky, and I haven't got that far down the road yet, but I do want to.
No, it's going to be an interesting transition, I think, after the Hurricanes finish that round 3 double. I think because you're going to have to sell a couple Stars to navigate the buy. Do you want to hold all these Hurricanes on single game weeks? Probably not.
Mate, want to talk about Loop, and we spoke a little bit about Will Saltzman before. So just say we're going off round 1. What are we get an emergency? We get our vice captain going off, or we get one of our big Perth emergencies going bananas, and we want that score off the bench. What are our looping options? Is it just Will Saltzman? Is he the only one, or where else can we potentially look for someone who maybe isn't playing in round 1 but might get a game down the track?
I think that's ideal. I think if someone emerges in the next 4 or 5 days that's going to not play round 1, but then play maybe even the round 2 or the round 3 double, so someone from the Heat, Thunders, Stars, that's the dream situation because you can keep each one of your squad as a potential double game week player and you're able to loop freely. Whether or not that happens, or whether or not it's
Mm.
clear cut that that's going to happen, is another question entirely.
Correct. And is there? It's I'm struggling to think of who that might be at this stage. This is obviously going to be a a Monday morning sort of thing as you get to work and start thinking about who's gonna be your loop player. But are there any names that you've sort of got in the back of your mind for that role?
Michael Nessa, I think, because I believe Brisbane played 2 days before the test match, so I assume he's
Yep.
still going to be with the squad. But if he then misses selection and they hold Doggett back as that extra bowler, maybe he gets released and maybe he plays a double. I think
Mm.
it's probably a low percentage chance at the moment, but if it's worth it, then it'd be way better than taking Salzman, because at the moment, if you take Salzman over a Heat or a Thunder guy, you're sacrificing a score involvement the next week to loop, which is where you need a bigger number.
Correct. And the other thing there is Nisa and Saltzman play in the same game. They lock out at the same time in round one, so you'll be able to make that call. You won't have to wait for one or the other, which we'll get a bit. We should get a bit of Nisa information through. That round two game starts on the 19th of December. So that's sort of midway through the test, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
believe that might be day 3.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't. That's we're not gonna. We should hear something potentially by that first game.
I don't think we'll have guaranteed information.
No.
I don't think we'll know. And even then, he might play that game on the 19th. Doesn't mean he's going to then play on the 22nd, the second game of his double. He might play that first one, then get called back into the squad to just cover any niggles that might pop up during the test match, or even just be there to help prep the other guys.
Yep. So that's just a bit tricky. So I think that's just going to be a bit late. We're just going to have to wait till late there, and it can be a blessing or a curse having that vice captain and emergency go off in game one. I'm almost hoping it doesn't, but anyway,
Yeah.
we'll see. Mate, last one on our last minute conundrums is Hobart Pods, and we spoke about a couple of these guys, but this is really something that I'm interested in. Like, there's some very highly owned Hobart players. Obviously, we know about Owen and Ellis and David. But there's a couple of guys, even like Rayan Ahmed is going to be pretty highly owned. He's going to have a good role. There's a couple of guys, especially a couple of bowlers, who I'm really interested in as pods. One of them is Hussain, the Bangladeshi, and the other is, who we mentioned already, Riley Meredith. I don't think they're going to have high ownership, but they could have amazing roles, and they're obviously very good players.
Yeah, I mean, Hossain's been signed for a reason. He's done some good things for Bangladesh, I believe. They could do well, and he can actually hold the stick as well. So the game could fall for someone like Hussain. And there's another one there that if Mac Wright in the past has actually been solid, and he could be batting 3. Roll could be there. He's cheap. There's a few there, and
Bo Webster.
Bo Webster. Yeah, if he comes into that side, it's another spanner, isn't it?
Well, if he comes into the side, you think that's probably him done for test matches. Like, given that Inglis is probably ahead of him now as the bat, Khawaja, we're not sure if he's going to come back in. It's hard to see them wanting to go with 2 all-rounders, but it just really depends how deep they want to keep that test squad. They did release him for Australia A, we should mention too, last week.
Yeah, and maybe that's a little bit different because he's just keeping up the reps in test match cricket. But
I reckon they want to push BBL hard this year. I think this is Cricket Australia. If the series is looking in hand, which I think we can all safely say that it is looking quite well in hand at this stage. I think they want to make this one of the biggest big bashes ever. Like, there's private investment chat, and India are lurking, and like I think they want to boost this profile as big as possible, and that the best way to do that is to get the test guys in there. So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to see Bo turn up for Hobart at all, even for the game on Tuesday.
Yeah, and by that same reasoning, I guess Michael Nessa, that becomes a little bit interesting too. If these guys do it, and I think Bo Webster becoming available probably changes a lot of people's thinking. He's pretty low owned at the moment. He's more likely to bowl than Mitch Owen, I would imagine.
100%.
And he's going to bat 3, and Good in the field too.
No, and he's got it. He's got a very good Big Bash pedigree. Obviously down at the Stars, he moves to the Canes this season, and yeah, I saw him hit the biggest six I've ever seen at the MCG. He hit a third tier MCG square. My goodness, there's gonna be a few going up onto that hill and out of the ground at Ninja.
Those long levers.
The lot, mate. That's another conversation. The long levers. That's the laziest commentary going. All right, all right, mate. That's it for conundrums. We got plenty more. Discord for any of your last minute conundrums. Get in there and let us know.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Mate, it's time for our baller move segment. So this is our bold predictions. This is Gramsci's, producer Gramsci's coming hard, wanting a few bold predictions. So let's hear it. We'll go tit for tat here, mate. You can kick us off and open the batting.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with our boy Mitch Owen early. I'm going to say he's going to flop.
Wow.
For those first 5 game rounds. We're going to have him I'm going to own him. It's just from a risk-adverse strategy perspective. I don't think I can go against him. Will probably not captain him, but we'll see how my nerve is come Tuesday night with 50% of the game on him.
Yep.
But I'm going to say he goes under a 40 average across these first 5 games, less than 200 points, and we all lose a bunch of cash.
His rise has been meteoric. Like I knew who he was last year. I'd heard of him, but like I didn't have him. He was 42K last year, and no one had him in their team. It was only like who the hell is this guy scoring at 200? But yeah, now he's the most popular player in the game.
Just seen it time and time again in SuperCoach. The guy that kills it at the back end of last season starts off with a few stinkers.
You're getting me a bit excited to maybe not even take him, mate, with that kind of chat. But yeah, we'll see. You're going down the SuperCoach route, mate. I'm going for a bit of season-long stuff here. I'm going Mitch Marsh, top run scorer for the BBL this year. Not super bold, but I do think he's in for a massive season. That flat deck over there at Optus. He's obviously white ball captain for Australia now. I just think we haven't seen him for a long time just get a really settled Big Bash season. Like you mentioned, he's too good for the league, and I think we could see him do a lot of damage. So, yeah, I'm tipping him for most runs.
Yeah, when you see someone dominate the IPL and have a good season there,
yeah,
they're always going to be able to do it in the BBL.
Yep, especially at 117K. Mate, what's your second bold prediction?
Second one I've got, I'll go down that path as well. I'm going to say Xavier Bartlett's just going to have a stormer of a season. 25 wickets, and we'll see what he can do with the bat this time. 25, and he's going to chip in with 100 runs as well. Scored
a nice 83 for Australia A, batting at number 8 or 9, I think, the other day. I think he could be this season's Dwarshus, couldn't he? Where he just sort of breaks out with that lower or hitting role, and he should get the best overs for the Heat too.
Yep, and he's taken a lot of wickets before.
My next one is, I'm going for top wickets now. I'm going Jamie Overton. So I think he's a bit of the forgotten man. Adelaide, not super relevant. We've spent about 3 words on Adelaide all preseason, myth. But I think his availability is really good. He's going to play the entire tournament. He's proven very effective. I think he gets death overs all the way through here. Henry Thornton's obviously the other sort of main pace guy there at Adelaide. Their attack worries me a little bit. I just think they're going to depend on Overton to go well. And yeah, he's quite a spicy price too. I might even go and have a look to have a few shekels on him for top wickets. Mate, last one from you, bold prediction.
I'm going to say prior to the arrival of Sam Curran, Jack Edwards is going to be top 5 averaging player.
Wow. Your love for Edwards it's really like I can't work out if I've just like there was a season there we all got burned by Edwards, wasn't there? Or was it 3 seasons?
There was definitely a season where we got really burned, and then I think he's just been a little bit underwhelming.
Yeah,
but I just can't look past the role. He's going to at worst bat 6, and I'm pretty confident he gets his overs. At best case, he's batting 3 in bowling overs. If that happens, I'll double down and say top 3 average. But because I do think he'll bat 6, but that role's still great.
Role's good. I've still got question marks on the quality. That's where I'm That's where I'm at with it. But I'm going to bow to you there because you're much more on top of the Edwards conversation than I am. So I'm very happy to concede ground there, mate. My last bold prediction is I am calling this a Stoinis revenge season. Now it hasn't even been terrible the last few years, Stoinis, but it certainly hasn't been the form we saw him dominate the Big Bash through the early 2020s. I think we see him get a bit more of a bowl. Stars bowling is horrendous. They've lost Steckity for the season. They've got 41-year-old Peter Siddle as their frontline seamer. Curran is obviously there. Curran had a pretty poor year last year. I think he'll bounce back this year. Harris Ralph only available for the first half of the season. So I do think there's a good bowling role for Stoinis to pick up. We see him do a lot more bowling for Australia for whatever reason than we do for the Stars. So yeah, I think he could certainly look at potentially if he can get the batting in. Where do you think he bats? 5 again?
Yeah, that Stars batting lineup is just a mystery, isn't it? I've got no idea, but you think he's coming around the middle order, but it wouldn't also shock me if we get to the first game and he's coming out to open. He's just, they've got to do something different. They've really struggled at the top for a few seasons now. They can't get going. Surely
they can't keep running this Rogers Harper in the top 3. Like I think then there's obviously a bit of chat. They're going to try Kellaway. It's just a shame they can't find anyone else to bat in the middle because obviously Hilton Cartwright is not super dependable. And for me, it just has to be Stoinis, Maxwell and Stoinis filling those 3 and 4 slots, but they seem a bit reluctant.
Yeah, and especially with Stoinis' success at the opening previously in BBL. I remember one season captaining him getting 360 from him in a double game week. Double that, 720. There'll be rounds I probably don't score that. Yeah. I like that shout about Stoinis, and I think if you wanted to go real wild, he wouldn't be a bad guy to grab early in round 2 if you set up in the right way.
I'd almost consider starting with him as that star. The Joe Clark inclusion makes me less likely to want to start with 2 stars because it's just a little bit more to carry, especially if you're carrying 2 Perth as well. You're sort of probably costing yourself a round 2 double gamer. But yeah, the price is fine, 140. It's going to come a bit down to that. Let's see the lineup in round 1.
And let's see how much he bowls himself.
Yeah. All right, that'll do for bold predictions, mate. Bumper episode tonight. We've got just a quick reminder. We got pod next Thursday night, I believe, for the end of round 1. So that'll be the night that Hobart play the Melbourne Stars to round out the round, and we're going to be going through all the big problems ahead of round 2. That's going to be yourself, Myth, and Jono and Tube. So I'm indisposed that night, but that should be a ripper to see us out for round 1.
Yeah, I'll be able to be recording live whilst I watch Mitchell and put an egg on my face.
Marcus Stoinis just knocking up 5 for 100 in that game. Mate, everyone got to get in the league. We're reminding you once again, please get involved. Baller 3K League. Follow the links on ballr.live. It's a piece of cake to get to. You'll be able to find it on social as well. We've got all the links in there. But yeah, head along to ballr.live, ballr.live. Please like, subscribe, all that good stuff really helps us out with the algorithms, and give us a rating. And Myth, mate, Discord, cannot reiterate enough. Get in there if you want a bit of access to myself, Myth. If you want to talk to Tubes as well, he's in there for whatever reason that might be. John C-Mac, all the ball contributors are in there. And best of luck, mate, for round 1, and hopefully it's all pretty clear come Sunday afternoon.
I'm sure it'll be as clear as mud, but we'll see how we go.
Mate, I got my wedding anniversary Sunday, so that's I can't wait to tell Mrs. Terrace Crew that I've just got to check the final lineups at whatever time they're coming out. So yeah, should be good.
The lineups and then half an hour to think it through.
I can't believe I just called my wife Mrs. Terrace Crew. That's going to go down a treat. All right, thanks, Myth.
Thank you.
You beauty.